everything around it. Whatever knowledge and rules and regulations you need is around salat. And then on a monthly basis, you have 1 month of the year in which you fast. So that's 1 month management of time. And then your yearly management of zakat. And then the big picture of Hajj, once in a lifetime management. Right, so all the 5 arkan will show you how the Prophet ﷺ wanted us to develop stamina. So there are certain tasks that need to be done every day, and there are other tasks that need to be done 1 month, and there are tasks that need to be done once a year, like zakat, and there are tasks that need to be done once a lifetime, like Hajj. So all aspects of human life and time have been accounted for in the 5 arkan, the 5 pillars of Islam. So if you were to say that I'm going for Hajj once in a lifetime, and you put all your energy and your focus on going for Hajj, but you miss your salat, you miss your Sawm, and you don't give zakat, then we know how that is. And that is not Islam in totality. That's a spike. The brother calls it. Once in a lifetime you get a spike. MashaAllah, Allah will accept, no doubt. But that's not the rule. The rule is you have to do your 5 times salat, whether you go for Hajj or not. Before Hajj, during Hajj, and after Hajj. Right? Some people, mashallah, get a very good spike in Ramadan. You see the masajid will be filled. Huge spike. Everybody does Quran. They do their Taraweeh and they fast throughout the month. MashaAllah, alhamdulillah, and accept it. That's fine. But it should be throughout the year that you pray 5 times a day and you do everything else. And then at times zakat, when zakat, people who are conscious about their zakat, they will say, this is the month for my zakat, and I have to pay it. So once in a year they'll be charitable. But the rule is you have to be charitable every day. So this is what I'm saying, is that when you look at how the Prophet ﷺ explained Islam to us, we find that this is part of our life. Stamina. So he said, Khairul a'mali adwamuha, the best of deeds are those that are the most consistent and the most long-lasting. Longevity is necessary for a Muslim. Then he wasn't talking about the fara'id. He wasn't talking about 5 times salat a day. He wasn't talking about zakat or Sawm. He wasn't talking about Hajj or the shahadatain. He was talking about your extracurricular activity, which are voluntary. And this is what we need to focus on today. I come to the last point on this sheet, which says maintaining a balance between work, family, contribution to the cause of Allah. So this is where we need to lay down in our minds order of priority. What's my order of priority when I'm doing work for the sake of Allah, when I'm working for the community? What are my priorities? So we need to ascertain those according to the Quran and Sunnah. Then we will see how stamina is so easily developed. One of the problems we find, as I may have mentioned this before, is that when there's a rally downtown, then mashallah you get a busload of people going to downtown Delhi center and shouting their lungs off for a cause which they think is good. Right, and they'll be calling for justice, and they'll be calling for peace, or they'll be calling for this and that. But when it comes to the household duties, they say, I don't want to do this. Not understanding the priorities. Meaning that's a priority, but this is a bigger priority, especially if you never do it. Right? So you're willing to spend 6 hours downtown, but you're not willing to spend 6 minutes on with your child, trying to discipline him on a daily basis. Why? Because you don't have time. So that's not stamina. That's foolishness. Right? So that's the spike, which we must stay away from. So here the Prophet ﷺ gave us an understanding how to prioritize. So he said, first of all, ibda biman ta'ul. That start with the people who are close to you and who are under your supervision, and the people that you raise. So if your son, for instance, does not know how to do salat properly or how to read the Quran correctly, but you're initiating a program in the masjid that we want to start this program in the masjid, but your son himself or your daughter doesn't know, or you don't know. Right? So that's not understanding priorities. That's not understanding priorities. You can't have double standards. One standard for the community, one standard for you. Everything has to be what? Consistent across the board. So you can only implement a policy outside of your home if your home is intact. But if your home is not in order, your house is not in order, then you can't do anything outside the house, because you will have hell when you come back in your house. And some of us may have experienced that, or if we haven't, mashallah, experienced ourselves, we know of people who experience this on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, that people will go out for the sake of Allah, and they will do that at the expense of neglecting someone else. Right? I'll give you an example, and I gave this example before. This is just to establish the parameters of stamina. A young man came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked, Ya Rasulullah, I need to go for jihad, and I want to come with you in the path of Allah and fight. So the Prophet ﷺ knew him, and he asked him, do you have any parents who are lonely and old? He said, yes. He said, then you must make jihad with them, meaning taking care of them is your first priority. Yeah? And the other one sounds nice and rosy. I'm going out in the path of Allah and the Prophet ﷺ. This one has to do with your nafs. Taking care of your parents is difficult. So the Prophet ﷺ laid down those priorities for the community, so the Sahaba, whenever they did something, they would all be on the same page. So now if someone wanted to go and spend some time outside of the house was in order. Okay, the spouse was on the same page, the children were on the same page, and people would then vie with each other, and they would boast. Children in the streets of Medina would boast, oh, my dad has gone out for the path of Allah, in the path of Allah, and we're so happy that he's gone. And the wives would also boast amongst each other, oh yeah, my husband's going this way and that way, I'm doing this and that. Okay. Nowadays what happens is, because there is no orientation in the house, okay, and people who want to do work for the sake of Allah, they have to sacrifice some elements of the house in order to do so, and that's where your stamina breaks down. You'll do it for 6 months, you'll do it for a year, then you'll say, oh, I can't balance my life, my home life with this, and the result is you lose a good volunteer. All right, and then you're scrambling around in the community asking for another volunteer. So this has to be, I think, a first priority, which is on the sheet, balancing between work,